Hello, wonderful music students and friends. Uh, I thought I would kind of kill two birds with one stone with this video. Some people mostly actually everybody's fine with what I'm getting for these video exchanges. And I just want to say, I find this better than the in-person lessons. I spend a lot more time actually. I listen to your videos, I listen back again. Sometimes I put them in slow motion so I can really hear exactly what's going on. And I have a chance. Sometimes I watch them one day and I make a video for you the next day, so I have a chance to think about it and really consider it. Maybe I practice some things to try to figure it out. So what you're getting is a much more considered, instead of sort of a quick off the cuff. You come in and you play for me in person. I go, off the top of my head, I think this. I get to actually give you, the best input that I can. I think if we get back to a situation where we can have in-person lessons, I think I'd like to consider with this format and add to that a once a month master class where we all get together at the local church, maybe with a pianist, and just play for each other and have sort of more public lessons. And in that case, I can the very few things that we're missing from not having the in-person, we can do in that way. Anyhow, I just wanted to talk to people about, to all of you, about two things in particular. One is the content of the videos that you send me. You don't need to play every part of every exercise or every piece, or even you just need to give me a representative sample. There's an old saying that professional players can tell how you play by the way you take the instrument out of the case, which is almost true. And in some cases it's literally true. I don't even know when I want to do this, but I've seen like kids, they take their trombones out of the case and they hold the bell and the slide together, and you do this very carefully, with one hand like this. And you see that, and this person doesn't know how to play. So you can literally see by the way they take the instrument out of the case and how they put it together, how good a player they are. So in as much as that's not quite true, it actually doesn't require a lot. I don't need to hear all your scales to tell pretty much if you can play your scales. Although the scale part is actually, not a big time meter. You can play, should be able to play all 12 keys, all 15 key signatures in under 2 minutes. So I would like to hear actually all your scales. But anyways, so this is my day. I haven't played yet today. The other issue that this is, not an issue, but maybe question or concern or whatever that you might have is, what do I do on days when I don't have a lot of time to practice? And so I think it's the same answer for both those things. And so I have my chops thing. I've got my computer open here, and I'm looking at Claude Gordon's stuff. So here's my first notes of the day. Okay, so that was double tongued. So if I would do my own practicing, which this what this is today, although I intend to do more practicing on certain areas, maybe I'll identify those to you when we get there. But if I was doing that was my daily practice, or if I was making a video for a lesson, I would also do this. Like that. And I just did two positions there, but I did three before. I might opt to go one odd number positions, 1, 3, 5, 7. That would be another option. Or I might do all 7 if I felt it was really important or relevant, or if I wanted that input. If I'm giving this to a teacher and I have a lot of trouble at the end of the slide, or what have you. So that's not the greatest version of that, frankly. But so now I get to notes. That's chops for me today. Notes. So there's pitch, there's rhythm, there's keys. Under pitch, I'm going to do some sight singing. And I may as well do the thing that I intend to play with keys. And of course, I can play my scales, my major scales up and down, so I don't really need to do that right now. So then the next step in that process, if you've learned at least some basic level your 15 key signatures, then it's time to start to play music in those keys. And so actually, I keep on going on down here, and you'll see how all this stuff kind of connects. So you can kind of hit more than one bass at one time. I'm working in my classical solos. I'm working on a Pergolesi sonata that one of you is also playing, and kind of inspired me to look at it again. I've never really mastered it on the tenor trombone. I played it down the octave on the bass trombone, but it's a great piece for high register and sustain and all that kind of stuff. So I'm working on the first movement, which is a slow movement. So guess what? That's my vocalese out of my studies. I don't have to play two pieces that are the same. There's no point in me playing another vocalese when I'm already playing one for my classical solo piece. And so why not pick something from and in this case, I'm going to pick the one that I did for vocalese. But whatever it could be, I could have picked the first bar of my jazz piece that I'm working on, or any number of things, or I could have just picked a tune. It doesn't matter, right? But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the first few bars, which is. And so then for my pitch stuff, I'm going to go so, do, so, fa, mi, re, do, la, fi, so. And I might do that a couple more times. Not for a lesson, I just did it the one time, that's all the teacher needs to hear. But for myself, I might do it a couple more times to really get it, make sure I'm really clear on what all the syllables are. I might go and check it on the piano, I might check it on my horn, whatever. And then I'm going to continue. Sucks. Etc. So again, for a lesson, I would go through all the keys. All right, but for now, that's good enough. And if I was practicing, I'd go through all the keys. But it just gives you an idea of how little you can get away with. I mean, that one little phrase, and I could have just gone. Just that, and that would have been much easier, and that might have been enough, right? Just depending on where I'm at. I'm also working on memorizing that piece, and so that's really supporting that. Okay, so then rhythm stuff. I'm working on some conical, so I'm gonna go taki 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 taki. What am I gonna do? Taki ta taki ta taki ta taki ta. And I should have my metronome. I got it over the piano. Here it is. That's crazy to do conical without a metronome. So taki 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 ta taki ta taki ta taki taka dimi taka dimi taka dimi taka dimi tari kina dum tari kina dum tari kina dum tari kina dum taka dimi taka taka dimi taka dimi taki ta taki ta taki ta taki ta taki 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 ta taki ta taki ta taki ta taki 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 ta. Okay, so a little bit of practicing there. I felt on my way back, I was going from triplets to duples. I was out of sync with the duples. I wasn't bang on, so I went back to the triplets and back to the duples so that I made that transition more cleanly. So there's some conical. And I'm working through a set of videos online and doing more complex patterns and other clapping patterns and stuff. It's great. But I'm saying, well, I don't have time for that today. So what can I do? What's a basic thing? So just doing those basic syllables with a metronome, getting it's one of the places where people get really, really mixed up and out of sync and inaccurate. In normal music, where it goes from duples to triplets, and God forbid you should see a five, right? And so I did all the way to fives, and that feels good. I've definitely done some practicing here. This is great. And I did my keys already. So now I'm into studies. Vocalese, already did it, right? Or I'm gonna do it. I mean, the 12 keys was very much a vocalese practice. But I'm also gonna try to play that whole movement when I get to the classical pieces. So I'm not gonna worry about vocalese. But for articulation, I'm thinking about, I'm not even sure what the tempo should be. I could look it up, but I'm got it from memory, I think so. Now I'm playing the whole thing, that whole study. That's number 19 in the, well, it's in the dotted 8/16 section of the Arban's, but whatever, different pages and different editions. And I'm frankly not that knocked out with what I just did, but for the purposes of the demonstration, or if this was a lesson, I wouldn't go back and try to correct it and say, well, that's the best I can come up with without repeating it. But then I'm going to do it again double tongued. And then I'm going to do it again triple tongued. Again, not perfect, but if that's all the time I have, I mean, I've touched that bass, and you know, that was pretty good practicing. I was digging in pretty hard, you know. Okay, so classical stuff. I'm working, as I said, on this Prager Lacy Sonata. So I'm going to put my headphones on. Here it is on YouTube, like everything else in the world. I've got it. It's a slow movement. So the speed options, you can go down to as much as a quarter speed, which I use. Like when I'm transcribing Charlie Parker or something, I'm using a quarter speed. I'm using a quarter speed sometimes when I'm listening to you. But for this one, it's already a slow movement, so I put it in at the 0.75, 3/4 speed, and that's about right. It's possible to do the long phrases, but just slowing it down a little bit really helps me to hear how he's making his transitions and how he's phrasing. It's just awesome. It just really turns your hearing up, you know. So I'm gonna give this a try. That was fun. So I've been doing that for, I think it's like my second week doing that. Like I've done it maybe 2 full weeks already. I have to check my practice notes. But that's so much fun. And you know, the beauty of his phrasing and these dynamics that he's put in, I couldn't have come up with that. I couldn't have played it that beautifully in a million years without using the recording the way I've been doing. Of course, I've been listening to it, singing along sometimes, and then of course playing along with it. It's so great. And so, if I was the teacher listening to this video, I would probably say to my student, me, hopefully my favorite student. We should try to be our own favorite students. Uh, I guess I would say there was a memory slip at one point where I lost a little bit, so I need to look at that and not just try to memorize the slide positions or something, but just look, okay, what's the chord there, what note in the chord, what's going on harmonically, so I can actually like know the piece, right? And then other than that, I would probably say, okay, it's time to go up to tempo. I think it's probably time to take that up to tempo and then get started on the next movement. So, if it was like next week, I'd like to hear that movement up to tempo and, get some indication that I've started on the second movement. Yeah. So that's my classical piece. Also in classical pieces, we like to do an excerpt. So I'm working on the Brahms First Chorale. And so I'm on tromboneexcerpts.org. Plug in Brahms First, go down. I've already listened and played along with the first like 6 recordings or something. So now I'm going to play with Berlin Philharmonic with Claudio Abbado. Yeah, I was just playing with the Berlin Phil this afternoon. It's really great. Those guys are good. They're playing a few bars before the trombones come in. The beautiful flute solo. Okay. So I normally play more than that, but this recording, I like to play the whole excerpt, but this recording is so soft, which is kind of amazing, like the trombone players are playing. I mean, the rest of the recording wasn't soft, it was that when the trombones came, but suddenly it was so hushed. Of all the recordings I played with so far, this was the most hushed of the whole group. So I couldn't really hear it. And it kind of freaked me out, and I cacked the first note and everything. So I would probably go back and just listen to that a couple of times and hear how they're playing it. Maybe try it by myself and then see if I can play dead on with them, because I've got everything up as loud as it'll go, and I can't really hear them when I'm playing. So it's going to force me to play soft enough so I can hear them. So this is going to be awesome, right? So it's actually really worthwhile going through all these different recordings to get these different kinds of challenges and perspectives, different tempos. There's a lot of versions. I probably wouldn't get through all these in like many months. So. But after a week or so of this, I'm going to be ready to go on to another excerpt and eventually cycle back to the Brahms First Chorale, of course. So that's my classical stuff, and so then now I get to, I get to whatever jazz thing I'm working on, and I've got a few hours in that fire. But one thing I've been doing is transcribing Charlie Parker heads, which sounds ridiculous because of course there's numerous real books with Charlie Parker heads in it. But what's really missing for me is first that direct connection to listening to it and writing down what I'm hearing and playing it at like a quarter speed and putting in things like articulations and ghost notes and scoops and accents and all that kind of stuff and really trying to get a real grip on it. So I'm going to just stick that on. I think I'm going to do like half tempo or something. I've got a transcribe program if I can find it. Here it is. So here it is at 50% speed. Piano introduction. So, and for myself, I'm my best teacher, and I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm clearly ready to go a little bit faster, and I need to get my eyes off the page and just do it from memory as much as I can. And eventually, I went up to go. Without the music, without the recording, and doing all the things, so it's just going to sound just like Charlie Parker, and you could start playing Charlie Parker halfway through, and it would be exactly what I'm doing. I want to get it exactly like Charlie Parker, and I'm also, like I said, I'm probably ready for a little bit faster. And what I also am doing is continuing to play and try to improvise somewhat in the style. So I'm actually going to just listen to Charlie Parker play the head again, but I'm going to improvise over top. So that recording was a little bit too loud for me to really hear myself, so I'm sure that sounds like a lot of crap, but I'm practicing my improvisation. All right, so that's all going on there. And that's it. I'm done, right? So that was about 20 minutes, including a whole lot of yakking on my part, right? The educational content. If I just played all that down, it would have been 10 or 15 minutes of actual practicing and or demonstration, if I was to send that. And so I could send that recording to any great teacher in the planet, and they're going to go, yeah, I don't need any more information than this. Got it. And here's what you should do next, right? So for all of you, for this whole concept of, what do I do when I don't have time to practice this week? Yeah, who has time to practice this week? Well, sometimes we do. Some of us do. Some of the time, it does happen. And you want to get to yourself to a place where that's happening pretty frequently, where you're putting in a good practice session and consistently getting some work done. But life will encroach upon that. You'll be too busy. Maybe you're so successful at your practicing, you're too busy with performances, and that's a good thing, right? But be careful, because sometimes people say to me, I even get this from high school students, they say, oh, I had this rehearsal and that rehearsal, and I'm playing in a musical, and I'm playing in this with my band, doing this or that and the other, and we went on tour, and so I've had all these, I'm just doing so much practicing. No, you're not practicing, you're rehearsing. That's not practicing. And if all you do is rehearse, or even just perform, after a while your chops start to fade, and you're starting to lose basic skills. Because, how often does that quarter note triplet come up? Maybe once, right? So when do you actually practice that? Well, you practice that at home. And you've got a thing going on with your conical so that you're doing that all the time. And that weird interval thing that you always miss pitch, you're practicing scales at home and sight singing and stuff, and so that's not a problem in the first place. But you're always moving forward with this whole thing. There's never a point at which, okay, now I'm done practicing, I just perform. All the greatest, there's some great stories, I'm trying to think now who, Michael Brecker, arguably one of the top, half a dozen musicians on the planet. And there's this great story about a guy who was not in that league and considered him to be a semi-deity and a real idol, someone that he was really, really loved to work with. But this person I'm talking about was good enough to be teaching at the same workshop as Michael Brecker. And, Michael Brecker checked into the whole hotel room, and he went up and he met him and said, wow, I'm just so glad to be here doing this gig with you because I think you're awesome. And so great. So they got a couple hours. Michael Brecker just getting off the plane from Japan or something, and so jet lagged. And so our hero goes into his hotel room and checks in. I think I'll have a nap before the first workshop in a couple of hours. And he hears this sound, and it's a saxophone. Michael Brecker's practicing. He's practicing in his room. So after getting off the plane from Japan, it's like probably 3 a.m. his time or something. And who knows where he was before that. He gets into a hotel room. He's got a couple hours. What's he going to do? Have a nap? Have a drink? No, he's going to practice. Why? Because he's so disciplined and he's such a hard, hard man. No, because it's really fun and it's so much more enjoyable to practice and be moving forward, even if it's just a little bit you can catch. So much more fun. The whole thing is about having fun. We're artists. If we were, if we were hard workers, we would be doing hard work and making a lot more money. Instead, we're doing art, and it's really enjoyable. And those of us who are professionals and are doing this not for money, this is your chance to cultivate an art. And I'm not saying it's not a serious endeavor, but it's really key to understand that the key to moving forward in an art is to be enjoying it, to be actually doing the thing that you want to do. There's a real danger in, as somebody said, another teacher online was talking about, you want to be a competitive swimmer, and you can spend all your time doing push-ups on the side of the pool, not ever actually getting in the pool and swimming. And so we need to get in the pool and start swimming immediately, which I think I demonstrated today. I mean, I had a lot of fun there. That was really fun. I mean, I was really playing my heart out on, cacking and playing out of tune on the Pergolesi Sonata and really digging into the Charlie Parker thing and trying to improvise. That's what I want to do. That's the activity. And if I find myself on the stage having to do any of those things, I'm not going to have to do something different. It's not like, oh, yikes, this is the show. Now I'm really nervous because I've never actually practiced playing music. I was just doing other things or something. This is the endeavor, right? And so you can even play that music in kind of a non-musical fashion and not be doing the thing that you really want to do. So then it just means you're not playing as well as you could be playing, or to put it another way, you're not having as much fun as you could be having. So please have as much fun as possible, and let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to your videos this week. It's so fun. It's such an honor to work with you this way.